Loki Season 1 Episode 5. The penultimate episode begins in the apocalyptic world where the Pruned go to die, and all the innumerable Lokis are lost in the void. They are prevented from leaving this place at the end of time by a creature called Alioth. In the TVA, Sylvie, Sophia DiMartino, confronts Judge Renslayer, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, to reveal what she knows about the organization's shady origins. Renslayer tells Sylvie that each branched timeline isn't reset by the TVA, it's transferred to the void. Nothing comes back from there, but Renslayer says it's because the real timekeepers are building utopia from that point in time. Meanwhile, our Loki, Tom Hiddleston, tries to make sense of the void with Kid Loki, Jack Veal, Boastful Loki, Deobia Opere, Classic Loki, Richard E. Grant, and an alligator version of the trickster. Which, as the Hiddleston version admits, isn't that strange anymore. They try to explain the situation to him, but Classic Loki summarizes it by saying they're all in a shark tank, and Alioth is the shark. All they can do is try to survive, preferably together, which goes against the default nature of any Loki. Surprisingly, Kid Loki rules this strange place because he killed Thor in his timeline. After Sylvie reluctantly agrees to work with Renslayer to discover who is really behind the TVA, she quickly realizes the judge isn't reliable. As Sylvie is cornered by TVA troops, she self-prunes to send herself to the void. While starting off under baffling circumstances, the penultimate episode further descends into complete absurdity. To a point where different Lokis turn on each other, and a variant of Tom Hiddleston's Loki gets his hand bitten off by the Alligator Loki. It sounds bizarre on paper, but it works on screen, thanks to Kate Herron's composed realization of head writer Michael Waldron's deft storytelling. In addition, the episode allows us some insight into these Lokis and how they all arrived at this doomed place. Richard E. Grant's classic Loki is particularly endearing as the older, probably wiser version of the trickster god. His backstory is shrewd and sad at the same time, which then goes on to determine his fate as the episode progresses. That final confrontation with Alioth, sparked by Sylvie's dogged determination to take down the Timekeepers and our Loki's change of heart, is indicative of Marvel's constant quest to balance cartoonish absurdity with narrative genius. Despite being inherently unsettling, the relationship between Tom Hiddleston's Loki and Sylvie is heartening at its core, based entirely on these two actors whose incredible chemistry is enchanting. Tom Hiddleston continues to push the boundaries of how his Loki is defined, making him an anti-hero for the ages. Irrespective of the impending finale, the episode's silliness is only matched by its brilliance. Loki has set itself apart in tone, scope, and range for what comic books can achieve when translated to screen. That's fitting, for so much of it took place in a vast purgatory called the Void. There, we were introduced to a new Marvel villain, the dark purple cloud mass known as Alioth, that consumes everything it touches. Per Sylvie, Sophia DiMartino, it's hiding the originators of the Time Variants Authority. Though it might end up being more too, given Alioth has ties to the multiverse, a key component of MCU's Phase 4 and Kang the Conqueror, the villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Additionally, the penultimate episode of Loki Season 1 confirmed that the alligator from the Loki Episode 4 post-credits scene was in fact, an alligator Loki. Don't question it, as Loki says deep into Loki Episode 5. There were a lot of funny asides and moments thanks to the alligator Loki, alongside further jabs and teases for what else other Lokis whom we met inside the void have been up to in their lives. The Kid Loki, Jack Veal, killed Thor. Classic Loki, Richard E. Grant, became a recluse. There's even a President Loki, Tom Hiddleston. Loki Episode 5 had Easter eggs too, with an interesting one being Mjolnir and a shrunken Thor in a bottle buried in the earth in the void. Loki Episode 5, titled Journey into Mystery, directed by Kate Herron, and written by Tom Kaufman, began with a stylistic stroll through where we left off in Loki Episode 4, with the camera spinning and drifting through the TVA, the golden elevators and into the Timekeeper's chamber, and then beyond into the void, a desolate and dreary wasteland where Loki, Hiddleston, is now stuck. The scene won't make much sense if you haven't seen Loki episode 4 post-credits scene, as classic Loki tells Loki to run from Alioth, saying they are his lunch. Back at the TVA, having decided to spare Ravonna Wren's lair, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Sylvie wants her to spill the beans. But the TVA judge claims she's as in the dark as Sylvie is and wants the truth as much as Sylvie does. Ravonna then reveals that branched timelines aren't rest, they are more like transferred to place where they can't continue growing. That's the void, somewhere at the end of time. Nothing ever comes back from the void, Ravonna says, but she is willing to help Sylvie. Loki episode 5 jumps back to the void, where a bemused Loki demands to know the truth of the place. Alioth is a living tempest, classic Loki says, before summarizing it in an allegory, we are in a shark tank, Alioth is the shark. All the other Lokis were arrested and pruned too. Loki wonders why Kid Loki is wearing the horns and why he gets so much importance, to which he retorts that he killed Thor. And we are back at the TVA as Ravonna and Sylvie look to Miss Minutes, voiced by Tara Strong, to help with their new quest. Sylvie realizes that you can't create Nexus events in the void, which means they must get to the end of time to save Loki. Ravonna plays along, but she's really just stalling for time as Miss Minutes looks for the files, which is code for call the guards. Cornered, Sylvie prunes herself. That's clever, because she will also end up in the void. Meanwhile, inside the void in Loki episode 5, the four Lokis, Loki, Hiddleston, Classic Loki, Kid Loki and Boastful Loki, Deobia Opere, compare notes. True to his name, Boastful Loki claims he vanquished Captain America and Iron Man. The Alligator Loki jumps at Boastful Loki, with Classic Loki pointing out that it knows that Boastful Loki is lying as always. Well, at least my Nexus event wasn't eating the wrong neighbor's cat, Boastful Loki retorts as he wriggles with Alligator Loki. As Loki turns the conversation towards the end of their lives, Classic Loki notes that he didn't use knives as they are silly and a mockery of their magic potential. He fooled Thanos with a projection, faked his death, and drifted in space. He then decided to remove himself from the equation, for he just caused destruction everywhere. Classic Loki lived a solitary life at the edge of space for a long, long time. But he got lonely, and when he tried to get off the planet, the TVA arrive. God of Outcasts is our one part to play, he concludes. The other Lokis nod, but our Loki isn't fully convinced. In a mighty rallying speech in Loki episode 5, he pitches that they can kill Alioth together. But Loki is merely laughed off by the others, who have spent a lot more time inside the void. Disappointed, Loki walks out of their protective hatch only to be confronted by a dozen more of him. One of them looks exactly like him, except he's got horns and wearing a vote badge. That's President Loki. Inside, as President Loki notes what he's going to do with the others, Aligator Loki jumps at him and snaps his right arm off. That starts a fight, while our Loki looks dejectedly at the petty squabbles. He's not alone in that line of thinking, as Classic Loki conjures up an illusion and sneaks them away. Loki finally convinces Classic and Kid Loki to help him, but they will only get him to Alioth. Nothing more. Elsewhere in Loki episode 5, the prune Sylvie appears in the void and is immediately chased by Alioth. She briefly links into it with her enchantment magic and is served with a momentary vision. Sylvie jumps into an approaching car, which turns out to be driven by Mobius, Owen Wilson, who was also pruned in Loki episode 4. Oh, so the void is one big place for everyone. After they escape Alioth, Sylvie wonders she can find the actual folks behind the TVA. Realizing the cloud itself might be the answer, she asks Mobius to turn around and head for the cloud. Loki episode 5 switches to the three Lokis who approach Alioth as part of Loki's plan. But after seeing Alioth consume a destroyer escort, it's the USS Eldridge, a funny callback to the infamous alleged Philadelphia experiment. Loki starts to rethink his blind charge the villain strategy. He's further mocked by Sylvie, as she and Mobius join them. That was your plan? Wow! You throw a rock out here, you hit a Loki, Mobius jokes as he meets Classic, Kid, and Aligator Loki. Loki wants to know what Sylvie has cooked up. She says she is going to enchant the cloud, and she thinks it will work as she believes Alioth is just a guard dog for the person beyond the void at the end of time. Back at the TVA in Loki Episode 5, Ravonna questions Hunter B-15, Vunmai Mozaku, who's been imprisoned for briefly freeing Sylvie. B-15 wants everyone at TVA to know the truth about the Timekeepers. They were just mindless androids, but Ravonna just wants to know what drives Sylvie. B-15 then realizes that Ravonna wants to find the people behind the TVA, just like Sylvie. It's not about protecting TVA or keeping things stable, as she claims. But Ravonna won't get there before Sylvie, B-15 notes, because you only want it while Sylvie needs it. Outside, a frustrated Ravonna asks Miss Minutes to get all the files on the founding of the TVA. Loki Episode 5 jumps back into the void, where Loki and Sylvie are having a cute moment. They touch upon Mobius' theory of their Nexus event on Lamentus 1, but they both prefer to be in denial rather than talk about it. They are slowly getting there, though. Loki conjures a blanket for himself and then spins it around Sylvie too. There are clearly feelings here that neither wishes to acknowledge outright. Sylvie then moves things along, wondering, how do I know you won't betray me in the final moments? Loki is quite upfront about the truth, noting that he has betrayed everyone he has ever known. That's not going to inspire confidence. But that's not who I am anymore, I won't let you down, Loki adds. They wrap up by considering the future, with Loki saying, maybe we figure it out together. As they gather with the other Lokis and Mobius, Sylvie reveals she had a brief connection with Alioth when she first came into the void. She thinks she can do that again in a bid to subdue it. As Classic and Kid Loki depart, the latter hands Loki his golden dagger. Mobius is meanwhile returning to the TVA to burn it to the ground. That leaves Alioth to Loki and Sylvie. As the monster cloud approaches, they realize they might not be able to wait for a variant distraction to appear. Loki takes it upon himself with his fiery dagger, so Sylvie can enchant Alioth. But the moment she tries to link into Alioth, it ignores Loki and runs toward her. Thankfully, Classic Loki shows up to lend a hand, creating an entire Asgard with his projection abilities. Alioth tries to devour it, giving Sylvie more time to do her thing. She persuades Loki to try it with her. He says he doesn't know how. You do, we are the same, Sylvie tells him as they hold hands. Hooking into the purple cloud, they close their eyes and use all their might. Classic Loki has done all that he can, and just as he's consumed by Alioth, who then swarms the enchanting squad, it stops and turns green right on time. It's done. As the cloud and smoke clears, Loki Episode 5 shows us a mansion under the cosmos in the distance. Loki and Sylvie walk towards it, hand in hand. Here are 5 takeaways from Journey into Mystery. The Void. The 4th episode had ended with Loki being pruned, but it was revealed that pruning actually does not kill the variants. It just transfers them to the void. Now, what is the void? Oh, just the dimension that lies at the end of time. Loki learns from his variants, Kid Loki, Classic Loki, Boastful Loki, and Alligator Loki, that an entity called Alioth, who dedicated readers of Marvel Comics will recognize, prevents anyone from escaping the dimension. Ravonna Renslayer claims the TVA dumps variants to the void as really erasing them from reality is too cumbersome. Alioth is mentioned in Marvel lore in relation with Kang the Conqueror, so we expect his appearance will be one of the big surprises of the finale. Thanos Copter, Mjolnir, Frog Thor, and other Easter eggs. The void is an interesting place, as not only it is situated at the end of time, so Ravonna claims, it also houses beings and objects that were pruned from their timelines. This allowed the writers to include a bunch of Easter eggs. This included Frog Thor, Thor who was turned into a frog by who else? Loki, who is trying, for ages it appears, to get out of a glass jar. Mjolnir was also seen, as were trays in TVA eatery. Another nod to comics was Thanos Copter. These are objects and entities from alternate timelines, as they did not happen or exist in the main MCU timeline, but the writers can still include them as the void is the convergence of every timeline that ever existed. What comes after the void? Sylvie showed up in the void and with the assist of Mobius, who fortunately was saved by Alioth. Exemplary Loki proceeded to forfeit himself by captivating Alioth, by making a hallucination of Asgard. They notice a palace-like structure somewhere far off. Is it the Kang the Conqueror's area? Whatever it is, to exist past the void or fleeting limbo would mean it is additionally past reality and exists autonomously, or the void isn't really the finish of time. The palace might be the citadel toward the end of time from Funnies, yet with an alternate proprietor. Loki Episode 6. After 5 episodes of the latest Marvel series on Disney+, the finale is almost here. Loki, starring Tom Hiddleston as everyone's favorite god of mischief, premiered on June 9, and a new episode has been keeping us entertained every Wednesday. That weekly release date was mischievously 2 days earlier than previously expected, claiming the Wednesday spot instead of Friday, like the other Marvel Disney Plus series. 6 episodes make up Loki's first season, with runtimes of 40 to 50 minutes. Loki Episode 5 is finally here, and yet, Tom Hiddleston was right when he said this 4th and 5th episodes are his favorites from the series. What's unique about this one? There's nothing major happening at the core, till the last 15 minutes at least, but there's still a lot to talk about how this lays a perfect base for the finale. If you're in, you should first watch the episode because we're going to discuss a lot about how Loki Episode 6 would look like, which means spoilers. Without wasting any of your time, just as Loki Episode 5 did, let's deep dive into predicting what the Big Bang finale could have in store for us. 1. Castle Doom or Castle Limbo? Let's start with that ending first. What was that? After pulling off an unimaginable enchanting process with Alioth the Usurper, Loki and Sylvie, Sophia DiMartino, hand in hand heads towards a yet unknown castle. Now, there are 2 kinds of theories, we'll talk about both of them and finally tell you what we think. The first set of people are saying it's Castle Doom ruled by Dr. Doom, and others feel it's Castle Limbo, temporal, which is Kang the Conqueror's den. If you've been following all the Easter eggs, this is likely to be Limbo because there's likely to be Kang's appearance in the finale. Yes, you can rule out this theory by saying Marvel couldn't introduce such an important character through a series, but the hints are too strong to miss. From Ravonna Renslayer's connection to Kang, to the presence of cloud monster Alioth the Usurper, we won't be surprised if Kang appears in the finale, or it's a mid-credit sequence, maybe. In the below image, right one is Castle Doom and left could be Limbo. 2. Alioth the Usurper leading us to Kang the Conqueror. Alioth is strongly connected to Kang the Conqueror, and with Sylvie enchanting him in Loki Episode 5, the only way to take the finale to the next level by introducing the main bad guy, Kang. The comics have shown a, kind of, rivalry between Alioth and Kang in which the former actually had a hold over the latter. Because Alioth could just usurp any amount of space destroying everything, his emperor is way bigger than what Kang has with temporal. Alioth, in the comics, had created this line of control which Kang should never cross. If the makers follow the same track, which they will, Loki and Sylvie are now responsible for breaking that LOC to reach Kang. 3. Avengers Tower? Yes and no. A scene in Loki Episode 5 also showed an abandoned and destroyed tower that looked like a replica of Avengers Tower. Fans started screaming on social media, mentioning it as Avengers Tower, but the eagle-eyed set of fans revealed how that wasn't the case. The tower shown in the episode is and isn't Avengers Tower. How? Well, if you look closely, it spells King, which means it's Kang the Conqueror's Quang Enterprises. But that doesn't mean it's not Avengers Tower. In Spider-Man: Homecoming, we saw Tony Stark confirmed selling Avengers Tower, but the buyer isn't revealed. There were a whole set of rumors regarding who could the buyer be. But, from the comics, we know it was sold to Kang Enterprise, which is owned by Kang the Conqueror. Do we need any more clues regarding Kang's presence in the finale? If yes, There are more ahead. For the Sphinx Time Machine. In one of the latest promos, we spotted Sphinx but didn't pay any heed because it didn't matter. But, after Loki episode 5, it does matter a lot. How? Remember the scene where Ravonna Renslayer says to Sylvie that there's a prototype time machine that could take us to the end of time? In Marvel Comics, Kang had one such time machine as well. So, what's big in that? He's a supervillain, and it shouldn't be surprising for him to have a time machine. But what's surprising is that Kang uses Sphinx as a time machine. Connect the dots and let us know what do you think of the same. Thrug's Easter egg. This doesn't have to do anything with the things we could see in Loki episode 6, but it's too cute to miss. Yes, Crocodile Loki, stole the show in Loki episode 5, but a glimpse of Thrug, Frog Thor, sealed in a bottle going for his hammer is a scene that would go on in our minds on loop for a long time now. Fun fact, the comics have shown a human named Simon Walterson turning into a frog because of a witch's curse. To fight for his justice, he was handed Thor's hammer, which gave birth to Thrug. Unnecessary but fun information. So, what does Loki episode 6 looks like? Owen Wilson's Mobius has gone back to TVA to burn that place to the ground, so expect a solid confrontation scene of him with Ravonna Renslayer. Loki and Sylvie are off to meet Kang the Conqueror, so expect yet another brilliantly lit and choreographed action sequence. Ravonna Renslayer should come out as a partner of Kang the Conqueror. Last but not least, and if this doesn't happen, we all will never forgive Marvel Mobius getting to ride a jet ski. Marvel, if you don't give this guy a jet ski, there would be no justice in this world. But it's Marvel and we still aren't out of the Mephisto fiasco we faced in WandaVision, so the best we could do is guess and wait for them to blow our minds either way. A second season of Loki is already in development.